Hello my friends! Today I am doing some botanicals in watercolor. So for anyone who's new to my channel, I just want to throw it out there that this is something that I'm not extremely expert at. So if you need to leave and find another channel rather than watch this entire 20 minutes and to be like, hey, you know, I wanted more advice than I got, then just throwing it out there. You're free to stay and see what I am doing and making progress on. I've been doing watercolors for a couple years now, but it's not exactly my main area of expertise. And especially these tighter watercolors, this is just something that I am working on, and this is more me just documenting my progress and some of my thoughts. And if you're at this level or maybe behind, or maybe even a little bit ahead, you might enjoy watching this to see some of the things that I'm in the process of doing. And if you're one of my art collectors, you might also enjoy this just to see how this process works. Okay, that being said, let's get started. I've already sketched out in pencil 3 of the daffodils in my little vase. My Russian vase, my friend Galina from Russia gave me, and she's now an American citizen. Thank you very much, and lives in Idaho. So let's get started. I'm getting so many little paints out here, probably more than normal, and I wish, if anything, my only regret is I didn't have a darker green color, or maybe one more blue or black on the palette. That was very dark. So we'll go ahead and start with some Aurelian yellow, which is kind of a cool and very pale yellow, as you can see. And that's for the outer leaf, or petals, I should say. They're not leaves. And as you can see, the center of the daffodil is more orangey yellow and a darker value as well. So I'm just starting with the lightest lights, and I usually work from light to dark with my watercolors. And just, I'm going to do more than one layer. So if I don't get, the nice thing about this first pass is I'm just getting some color down. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think I've mentioned this before, it's so intimidating when you have a blank sheet of paper or a blank canvas. You don't want to make any mistakes, but that's, you know, a fallacy, because I mean, there's always going to be mistakes. In fact, and they do say, a lot of painters, that watercolor is not nearly as forgiving as, say, acrylic or oil paint, because you can either wipe it off. You can't wipe watercolor off, but there is a lot of leeway with it too, I'm finding. Anyway, if you're wondering what the heck just happened, someone called my cell phone that I was making this video on. I had no idea. So 8 minutes later, I check it and realize it's not recording. So, and I didn't even get the call because it just was on silence, I guess. And so yeah, that was a big surprise. And that's one reason why there's 2 flower paintings on one video, since this one you kind of get gypped on this one. So just going over doing some layering here, which is very important, especially for getting the depth, and especially with these more realistic and tighter paintings. There's going to be a lot of fine details that needs to be reworked after the first or second pass. And also, as you can see, the leaves are kind of anemic looking. Sometimes that's cool because you can really get that translucent quality, almost like see-through glass or stained glass. But at other times, you know, especially if you look over at the real flowers on the left, they have very deep, substantial, and that early spring, almost like an onion, like a green onion look to them, and I need to capture that. So I'm going to add some more layers and really get that to hold up these little umbrella shaped flowers on top. And I think I've also changed the water. I'll just mention 2 or 3 times by now. It's really important, especially with these lighter colors, to keep your water very, very clean. It's dirty on the bottom. This is a plastic container that's stained, and it is what it is, but the water inside it's clean. Alright, I'm just going to let some music play for the rest of this, and then I'll come back for the parrot tulip that we paint next. Enjoy!
I went out and tried to cut a pine tree down, fell through the ground like Alice. Oh, what a sound! This must be a nest. I got rocks and sticks against my chest. I'm Alice, dear queen of hearts. I'ma grow you white roses so you can learn to be kind. Tell king of hearts to arm all his forces so you can learn to be kind. Oh, what a start! Inside out and upside down. No stress, I'ma clean up this mess like Alice. First hand me scissors, then bring out the heavy artillery. Oh, justice is my middle name. I'm Alice. I'ma grow you white roses so you can learn to be kind. Tell king of hearts to arm all his forces so you can learn to be kind. I'ma grow you white roses so you can learn to be kind. Tell king of hearts to arm all his forces so you can learn to be kind. And the horizon silver line.
Again, we are going to do some tulips now, and these are a special parrot tulip, and they have roughly petals that are really spectacular when they open. They happen to be tightly furled up right now, so I also love the crinkle on the leaf, which is a characteristic of the parrot tulip. So very excited to paint this. I think this is a great parrot tulip to begin with because of the fact that it's all pretty much green, and so I have less colors to think about because there's going to be a lot of detail with all these ruffles and crinkled curly edges. And but have you ever seen parrot tulip, like a pink or a red one done in watercolor? They're amazing looking. One of my favorite things to do in watercolor, I think, or I should say one of my favorite things to view, because I haven't, this is my first parrot tulip in watercolor. But yeah, I just, they take my breath away when I see really good paintings of parrot tulips. And usually they're done in watercolor. I think that these tulips just, for some reason, are, I mean, they could be done in oil, but there's something about the translucent quality of the watercolor on the white paper that brings out some of the best qualities of these flowers. Okay, so this is going to be a great challenge for me because it's going to require me to work with a lot of details with these ruffles, and I'm going to have to think a lot more than just splashing on, say, you know, one giant brush stroke for a stem. There's a lot of tucks and folds and curves and layers. So yeah, that's going to keep me busy. And I also am going to be having to figure out what to paint first and how much to let it dry. And as far as the edges, some need to be soft and some need to be hard. So this is quite a challenge. There's quite a bit going on just with this single stem of a flower. And so I'm definitely going to be working in layers, and so some of the things that you don't know, or that I come back to this several times during the day, I just leave. It's kind of like baking bread, you know, you don't just stand there and wait for it to rise. So even though, so here you can see right there, it's completely dry. That's one layer, and I'm starting another layer. And it's just going to take layers with this kind of water. I mean, to get the effects of this in a realistic looking manner, it's going to take layers, and it's just going to take some patience. Just like you know, you can use quick rise yeast, or you can use a sourdough that's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to have a different effect. And that's kind of the same with the tulip painting here. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just accepted that it's going to take me probably all day to finish this, and that's okay. One of the challenges that I'm dealing with, besides values and warms and lights, are the whites. As you can see on the left side of these flowers, these are actually white flowers with the green on them. And so the very tips, you know, painting white on white, I decide that I want to keep the background white, which means I'm going to have to color the tips of the roses. I'm probably going to make it like, I decide I go with a little bit of lavender, basically just some of the purple that is really, really watered down for the very tips of that, and then some in a very pale yellow to make the tips of the tulip. Alright, just trying to get some of the streaks here, and again, this was a challenge because I need to kind of feather it, so I probably should have used at this point even a finer brush. I really, in my experience, and even with this, I do believe it's best to start with your larger brushes and then work your way down to details. You just don't want to start on details too early, and I think I might be starting too early, but I wanted to get some of them mapped out here. There's I don't know if you can tell, but there's even some dried brown petals stuck inside this flower. And so I'm adding a little bit of burnt umber in a few places. And that helps also bring out some of the darker values. And yeah, working here, you can see it's starting to look more three-dimensional, even just with this wash right here of the darker greens. And I mentioned at the beginning of this video when I was working on the daffodil or the narcissus that I think I wish I had put maybe one more really dark color on the palette, like either Payne's Gray or ultramarine blue, and maybe a darker brown, like a maybe burnt umber, or I thought this was transparent earth orange. I don't think it is though on my palette. I think it's like a French or like a red ochre or something, because it's not quite as dark as I'd like it to be. Yeah, because I really have to go dark to get all these deep colors. If you just look, like squint your eyes and look, this just is still quite anemic compared to what's the real flower on the left. And so just trying to capture all those dark greens with the layering is the challenge. And also there's cool greens and warmer greens. So yeah, I don't quite get this as perfect as I like, but I'm pretty happy with the way it ends up for my very first try at a more tightly painted botanical. So I hope to do more of these. I do also like the way a lot of the classic botanical work and studies are done, where the stem actually goes down to the root. These are actually cut flowers from just the grocers, so I didn't pull them up from my yard or anything like that. So they didn't have any root systems on them, so I couldn't paint those. But I do also feel doing these botanicals, I should probably not go all the way down. You know, if I have to use larger paper or paint it smaller, as you can see, I'm pretty much painting it literally life-size. But just to not go down to the bottom of the paper, like you would with I think that would be a more formal and traditional look for these botanicals. So just a few things I'll keep in mind in the future. I also decided to use a blue ink for my calligraphy, and then this is called Tulipa in Latin. I think Generania or something like that. Gesnerania, I think that's what it is. Gesnerania. Okay, so blah blah blah. Let's just let you enjoy this, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. But let's come back maybe in about a month, and I'll try some more, and we can see what progress I've made. Enjoy.